Yeah, let's go. You're all set? All right, so it's slightly after 6 p.m., maybe a minute past on January the 3rd. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm going to call the regular select board meeting to order. First item is to approve minutes from actually two previous meetings. The regular meeting, which was December 20th, and we had a special select board meeting December 28th, just to, get one in there between Christmas and New Year's. So could we have a motion for those either together or separately, either way you want to do it? To approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes for the select board meeting on December 20th and also the select board meeting on December 28th. Second.
Okay, discussion. Or changes, or...
Yeah, I was wondering about the, let me see here, I need to get the right page. We had the economic...
Page 3.
Page 3, right. The economic loan fund, it said that there were 2 people for and 1 person against, but there are 4 of us here, so I don't know if that was a miss.
Eric only votes in the event of the tie.
Not true.
Right?
Not true.
That's not true.
Well, Danny wasn't here.
Right, so should be 4.
Right, so should add up to 4. I didn't know if somebody abstained and I didn't see it, I just wanted to...
So it'll be 3 to 1 then? Is that what it is?
Probably, yeah.
And also there was discussion with that, and I didn't know if we could put some of the discussion stuff in there.
Definitely. Do you want to go?
Mention that that I felt that the board shouldn't have an open checkbook for the stuff, that it should be approved by the townspeople. And obviously I was the dissenting vote.
Changing that vote is 3 to 1 to approve, and some indication about the discussion to be added.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So, yeah. So the motion, though, is to approve the minutes. Probably technically we should have a motion to
Approve the alterations. Mm-hmm. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of improving the alterations to the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay, that carries. And then I think we still have the approving the minutes generally, and this is for both of them. So any changes to any of the minutes other than what we've already talked about? All right, all in favor of approving them, the special meeting as written and the regular meeting as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There we go. Woo!
Sorry about that.
I'm going home. This is all right, next set adjust agenda. And I think that the one thing that I know about is I think maybe we should add an item to discuss East Hardwick generally. Just the...
Should that be items or in
Between
to audience?
How about item 3?
Item 3 is specific to a grant that, yeah.
So between item 3 and item 4, before the discussion about the budget?
Yeah, or we could just do communication from the audience.
Easier because we have another item to have that is an item. CNC machine.
The
counter offer on the...
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So...
Well, I miss a week and...
Yeah, lots going on.
Hell, man.
Lots going on. All right, so... All right.
Do you know what East Hardwick, do you know, is it an item or just communication?
It's essentially a communication.
A communication.
So
just burn it right there.
That could come from the...
Specifically about safety and traffic issues.
Yeah, so let's do that in communication from the audience. Then you get to go first, which is nice. And, okay, so we'll add an item number 5 about, this is about tools that were held as collateral for
Correct.
for economic
However,
development
should
loan.
we make that item 4 and bump item 4 to 5, budget last?
Sure, because budget's so much fun. Okay, so we'll make a 4 and we'll make this one.
Number 4 is discussing the equipment on the economic development defaulted loan,
We have an offer for selling, or just
all but the CNC machine.
offer from someone to buy part of that equipment. Okay. Tools. All right, got it. So, do we have a motion to adjust the agenda, add item number 4 to discuss selling tools that were held as collateral for an economic development loan?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, or any more changes, or, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good, we got a new agenda. Communication from the audience, and we actually have an audience, which is a wonderful thing. Doesn't always happen. So, now would be a great time to hear communication from the activity in East Hardwick, and who would like to? All right. Could you, yeah, come on up, stand, make sure Leaf can see you, and stand and tell us your name and.
I'm Cheryl Michaels, and I live in East Hardwick Village. And first I want to thank all of you for letting me come and talk to you. I thought there are a couple of things. First is that what I specifically want to talk about is traffic and safety issues in the village. And I also thought as part of that I would let those of you who don't know what's kind of going on in East Hardwick in terms of the group I claim to represent. So I usually say I very loosely represent the East Hardwick Neighborhood Organization because we have a name now. But we don't have officers. That'll come this spring. We'll have some kind of organizational meeting and try to get things together. But we do have a lot of interest in the village about specific improvement items. So I'll give you a sort of brief history of it. May 6th last spring, we had a meeting at the Grange Hall, and 36 residents of East Hardwick Village showed up. We had 3 business owners and a bunch of people representing organizations. Wiz was there, and we had someone from the Planning Commission, someone from the Zoning Board, and so on. So we especially got there to learn about the village center designation, and we heard from Richard R. Moore and Caitlin Cochran about that. But we also did a couple of things. We encouraged people to talk about issues in the village. We had a facilitated program which ended with a list of things that were concerns and improvements that people saw could happen in the village. And we also handed out some feedback forms and got information back from that. The other thing that came out of that was an email list, which has done nothing but grow. And that was people who were there who wanted to kind of decide they wanted to stay in touch and start improving things in the village, especially in terms of community. So then in July we had another meeting that was sparsely attended. But in the meeting we tried to say where do we go from here, and we came up with a few specific things that we thought were important from that list and things we thought we could accomplish. And one of the specific things was to reduce the speed limit on Route 16. So having done that, I volunteered to contact Chip Troiano, since it's a state highway, and ask him how to go about that. He came to East Hardwick on a very rainy, cold day and walked all the distance of Route 16 as it goes through the village with us. And and he came back with a suggestion that, having approached people at the state, that we need to go to the select board and we need to ask you to request the state do this. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. I've put together some information. I'm going to hand it out.
Want me to hand them out?
Sure. Lovely. I think that's all that's in here yet. Okay. Besides contacting Chip, just before that, I went around and talked to people in the village and said, you know, what do you think about Route 16? And I spent a lot of time talking with people. As part of that, I brought a paper around with me and asked them to sign it or give their, you know, write a summary of what they had told me and what their concerns were or their experiences. And took that back, took Wiz's advice to not come with a bunch of complaints, but to try to put it together in a way that sounded positive, actions that we could do moving forward to improve that. So after getting that list together, I sent it out to the whole email list. I got a lot of suggestions from people about things that could be added or shouldn't be added. We made an improved list, and that's what you have at the top of your paper. There are 7 items on it. Most of them go to supporting a couple of objectives. One would be awareness by drivers as they're driving along Route 16 or through the village that they are going through a densely populated area. And the other one would be actual things that would improve safety, like better sidewalks, and maybe what do you call them, radar signs. Crosswalks, that would be another one. So that's kind of what our list consists of. The second page is a map. It didn't copy as well as I wanted it to, but just so that we know that we're all on the same, we're all talking about the same thing. This is Route 16 as it goes through East Hardwick. And I can explain the sort of general traffic pattern using this map. If you're coming from Hardwick, you're on Route 16, the first way you could go into East Hardwick and then off to, say, Greensboro would be by going down Cedar Street. There's a sign at Cedar Street that has the reduced village speed limit on it, but the problem is people are whizzing along. If there's no one coming, they just whiz right off and down Cedar Street, and they're still going, 50 miles an hour when they hit Main Street. So people who lived on Cedar Street have complained about that. And they felt that it was very dangerous. The next issue, as you're going, you hit Main Street. And if you're driving from Main Street and you're going to say turn right to come to Hardwick, what happens is that the highway curves and it's very hard to see very far. So as you go to turn right, you look right, you look left, you pull out, and suddenly there's somebody right there on your tail. That you didn't see at all. And I heard that from a whole lot of people as I was walking around. One person told me that he never uses that anymore. He goes all down to Cedar Street and up and around because one day a granite truck, which was going about 70 miles an hour, came close to hitting him and he ditched his car in order to avoid it. And he could not have possibly have seen it. Now there's another little obstruction right there, and there's a field and there are some trees there. And so I think, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I think even if the trees were cut back, it wouldn't totally fix the problem. Maybe reducing the speed limit would give you a better shot at, at that. And as you go on, you go towards Greensboro Bend. Another issue is that I've been told, and this is School Street as it comes in. And there really aren't any issues with School Street except that the traffic is increased on School Street because especially farm equipment and the milk trucks and things, they don't like the Main Street intersection either. So they veer off they're generally coming from like Greensboro or from up the hill from Brick House Road, and they veer off onto coming in and going out on School Street, which is a compact residential street. So that's kind of the overview. Starting here, do I have it here? If you start right about here and you go to here, that is about 3/4 of a mile. Now here's the other thing. People don't think that 3/4 of a mile is densely populated, and it is. Gary and I took a little ride yesterday, and that's your next insert. And we found 7 businesses on that part of the Route 16. Some of them, like D&L Gas and Mini Mart, they have a lot of traffic. The Hill Group has a lot of traffic going in and out. Like Hardwick Chiropractic, they're open to the public. New England Tree, which is B7 over here, they have, when we were driving by, there were probably 20 to 30 vehicles in their parking lot, and I know they don't all go out every day, but a lot of them go in and out every day. So that's 7 businesses there. Count the residences, and you've got 25 single-family residences. That includes the trailer homes that are there. There's this little M is a multifamily residence. It's a house that sits on School Street, but their parking is behind the house. So all the residents park behind the house, and then the driveway goes out to Route 16. So that's probably another 6 residents. I cheated a little bit, couldn't decide whether to add them or not, but these 3 places right here, they don't, and their driveway doesn't go directly onto 16, but they sit directly on 16, so I added them there. So even if you took them away and you added in maybe 6 multifamily residences, you'd be more than 25 single residences in that 3/4 of a mile. So that's my point about that. And what I'm hoping we can discuss about that one is, a united approach to that. So going back to my list of 7, I'm just going to really quickly go through them. That one was the one that took a lot of time. Repairing the village sidewalks and maintaining them during both summer and winter. One of the things that happened just recently is, was it last summer or the summer before, the street was repaved through Main Street and some of the other streets in East Hardwick. That repaving caused the street level to change, and there always was a drainage problem there, but now there's an even worse drainage problem there. So our sidewalks are flooded a lot. Besides the fact they're in horrible shape. And you may be surprised to learn we have, I'm just going to make a guess, like at least 20 children who live in East Hardwick Village. We have people who ride their bicycles, children, and especially in the summertime, children and adults. We have a lot of people who walk their dogs in the village. They wouldn't use the sidewalks, but we have the ski skaters from Craftsbury who come through the village. We have people who live all around the village and in the village that have horses and ride their horses. So it's important that even though we have a low speed limit, that people stay with that speed limit. And so sidewalks are one of those things. I already covered the 3rd one, which is visibility for cars entering Route 16 from Main Street. And by that I really meant having someone look at those trees and maybe deal with them or see if there's anything else that can be done. Radar signs, which again supports making people aware, and we could have, radar signs both on Route 14 and on the village streets would be a big help. Policing, obviously. And then the last one is painting the crosswalks. When the street resurfacing was done, the crosswalks were surfaced over and not repainted. I wasn't aware of that actually until Debbie Cook from, Care Bears Nursery School pointed out that she said to me, she said, one of my kids is going to get killed one of these days. That they had lost the crosswalks and how many people speed through the village, and so we never had a crosswalk, I don't think, down by Care Bears, but they did have a crosswalk up by the water tub, and she does take her children on walks around there. So that's pretty much it. And
so thank you for coming and presenting so thoroughly. And I just want to.
Can there be some discussion from other people from our East Hardwick in the room?
This should have been an agenda item.
Yeah, this is, yes, there can. You appear anxious.
What?
You appear anxious to chime in.
Anxious.
I was just, if I might, just respond quickly and then,
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just would like to just comment on a couple of the items that you brought to our attention, and thank you for having emailed this before and coming to us now. I think that when Sean is fully on board as town manager, it'd be great to start renew a conversation with our VTrans district coordinator, whose name we've met in East Hardwick before, but I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Is it Shauna Clifford?
Yeah, Shauna Clifford. And I think we should start a discussion with her about sight lines and speed and what's appropriate there. I think that's a great thing to do. Sidewalks are always an issue. The East Hardwick sidewalk, I mean, I just to put it in perspective, I mean, there are places all over Hardwick that have sidewalks that are either deficient or non-existent. But that East Hardwick section by the post office especially has come up perennially. And the thing is, the reason really that it hasn't been addressed is that it's not going to be cheap, because to actually fix it, like you said, there are drainage issues, it's a whole morass, but eventually we're going to have to face it. So it's good, keep bringing it up, and eventually we'll face it.
so what does eventually mean?
Eventually means that we have money that we put in a capital budget for sidewalks and something else, sidewalks.
Or we identify grant funds that are potentially coming available.
And we could match with our capital sidewalk funds. So I think there are ways to get at that.
Yeah.
It won't be quick, I don't think, but I think we should work at it. Radar sign, we do have one radar, by radar sign, I'm assuming you mean the ones that give feedback to drivers with their speed, it bounces back there. So we have in the whole town of Hardwick, I believe we own one of those now, right? Two. Oh, right, because we had the old one.
Yeah, the old one doesn't function so great, apparently.
We purchased 2 this year.
Oh,
We
okay.
got 2 of the new ones.
And the idea is to rotate them so they won't have permanent homes, right? They're gonna be, right. So they should see a East Hardwick rotation as well.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can those signs be used on Route 16 as well, or is that something that's up to the state?
I have no idea, actually.
I'm pretty sure, having just gone through this with people in Albany, Vermont, which is on Route 14, which is a state sign, and to get one put in by the state on Route 14 was going to cost like more than $2,000. So I think it's different than the local one.
Yeah, but I don't
Local
think,
ones.
so, yeah. Well, that's the ones like in Woodbury, cows.
Oh, yeah.
They're permanent. So
Yeah.
what we have is our own, and we can move it around, so we can check on that. I don't see why it would be prohibitive, do you? Because we can actually collect data with this one,
I
so,
don't think it would work well on Route 16. I think it would work excellent in the
in the
village.
village.
And you just have to make a request to the chief so that he knows. And then we set it up, and it actually provides data that we can download. It'll say how many cars went by, the speeds, the times, etc. So it'd be very helpful. And obviously you would get a copy of that if you wish.
Can I email the chief? Or do I need to stop in and talk to him?
I think you should introduce yourself if you don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just my,
And I'm right about the batteries don't hold in the winter time, so it's
right,
only
winter.
spring through
Right, it's
fall.
only springtime, yeah. The batteries don't last long in the cold weather.
And I just want to also just say about crosswalks that yeah, the crosswalk should certainly be repainted. That's an annual event. And we experimenting with, I think, 3 crosswalks in the village down here this year where we had different kind of paint.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that it'll last a little longer because honestly, what we've been doing is, seasonal, essentially. We did do.
Disappeared, we need to.
Right, but there's no reason it can't be added to that list, two crosswalks.
No, of course, those can be added to the list but potentially, we'll have a better solution going forward, but we're not sure yet. Because the last experiment we tried didn't actually help. So, anyway, those are just some quick responses, but I think that it's good to open the dialogue and to just, keep everybody aware that there is another village in Hardwick over in the east. It's good. Yeah. So more just being cognizant of our time, but let's hear from anybody else who, there.
Hi, I just want to thank Cheryl because she's doing an amazing job of getting people together in East Hardwick. However, I think I've only known about 1 or 2 meetings and I was out of town and I was not at home when she came and got these feedback, and I have some different opinions. So there are a bunch of people who have these opinions in East Hardwick, and there are probably a bunch who haven't been home or haven't been able to go to meetings who have some slightly different opinions. I agree with basically everything. I'm not sure about the necessity of having a reduced speed on Route 16. As someone who walks and rides my bike a lot, I do not see a lot of people walking or riding. I don't think having a decreased speed limit would necessarily invite more people to walk. There are people from the mobile homes who want to walk usually go around on School Street. School Street, if you look at the map, is really great. People get to the convenience store there. You can cross the street. There's really no need to walk along, or not much need to walk along Route 16, and people don't do it very much. And crossing Route 16 is mostly for recreation purposes. I've lived there for 16 to 18, 17 years maybe, and that's my experience as somebody, one of the more outdoors using people in East Hardwick. These are my observations and experiences. But seeing all those businesses, I had no idea. So I sure have the state or V-Trans do an assessment of whether there should be a lower speed limit. Fine, I'm just saying it hasn't been my personal experience, but I haven't seen this map with all the businesses and all of that. About the sidewalks in East Hardwick, before we even go to the drainage and everything, when I first moved there in 2002, there was a lot of sand after the winter on the sidewalks and on the street next to the sidewalks. It got washed away about end of May or something like that. The next year it became July. Last year it wasn't done at all. The sidewalk sand stayed there, and one day I was on my cell phone outside of my house because I don't get reception inside my house, and I heard like a blood-curdling scream, and it was a little girl, and I said, "Mom, I gotta go." Ran down there, and a girl on the sidewalk riding her bike had wiped out on the sand. So like, if that could be something that could be done before applying for the grants and everything, it used to be done yearly at some point.
You're talking about street sweeping?
Street sweeping and sidewalk, the sand goes on the sidewalk too. Those two things, that would be really helpful and could be maybe prioritized at a high priority, low cost, I think, for safety. That's really important. I also am very much for one of these radar signs in the village. I've noticed over the past year, and it may have been because of this committee's request, we now have 25-mile-per-hour speed limits that were never there. We have these stationary signs, and I've noticed them working. I think having a radar sign would also be an additional help. I question the need to police with a police car, have it parked. I've already seen one parked outside what used to be the potato warehouse. And I've seen people in the village getting nervous. We have a lot of, is it 20 kids, I guess, Cheryl said? We have a lot of teenagers who, it's great, they go fishing in the river. I see them outside in the summer, they hang out on their bikes. I just sort of fear if there's a police car hanging out where they hang out, it's gonna make them want to go inside and be on their video games. Nothing against police, it's just sort of how teenagers and other people react. So I would just say, let's see how these signs and the radar checkpoint things, how those work before having like a regular, sure, now and then a police car can catch speeders. I guess it's also partly because one time when Greensboro first put up their 25 mile per hour and going into the village sign, it had never been there before. I think I was cruising by at 12 miles per hour, higher than that. On the first day it was up, and I got a ticket for like $150 or whatever it was, but I was like, I would have slowed down if I had seen the sign or if there had been a radar sign. People in the East Hardwick can't really afford, or in that whole area, that without first giving them a chance, without getting stopped by a police. First, let them get the information out. Let them know. It's kind of new that there are signs and everything. That's one thing I wanted to say. And the last thing is, it's not on here, but there are tons of construction and farm trucks, mostly construction, who come barreling by my house. It's right on the road. I'm hoping the speed limit will will help them slow down. But is there any way, it's so loud, is there any way to check the decibels of trucks going by to see if they're legal?
Or if they're using air brakes perhaps, or whatever those brakes are.
No, it's the engines, it's the roaring, it just roars.
We don't have a decibel.
We don't have anything like that? Okay, that was my
What she's talking about is engine brakes coming down the hill.
No, it's not on a hill past my house.
Oh,
It's straight,
okay,
no,
yeah.
it's just
I hear it coming
straight.
down.
Oh, okay.
Like Montgomery Hill and then down Brick House Road.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really, really loud in our village, and I don't know if there's any way to look into.
Engine brakes, you must slow trucks down.
She's not even saying engine. Yeah.
What?
Engine brakes are what slow
I'm on
trucks
a
down.
flat. I'm on a flat.
Right, they're slowing down for the corner or something. There's a reason they're slowing.
Just come
Well,
around the
an
corner.
engine brake slows trucks down, so they're decelerating for some reason.
Okay, but I'm saying it isn't their brakes, it's their engine.
I understand
That's what I'm
that.
saying.
The exhaust brake is on the engine, and that's what makes some noise. But you're asking for people to go slower, and one of the tools.
So that might help.
One of the tools that trucks use to slow down are engine brakes. So if you don't want to hear the engine brakes,
But you can turn them off.
well, you can, but again, it's a tool to slow the trucks down. That's why they use them. So.
But if they're going 25 miles for the whole village, but they should already be slowed down. Right, okay.
right.
Anyway,
So,
I mean, mostly I like everything supported. I just hadn't had a chance to weigh in, and I had put out an email a couple days ago, and nobody had written back to me, so.
And I think just you may have forgotten to state your name in the beginning, Meredith.
Sorry, my name is Meredith Holch, and I live in the village of East Hardwick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, if anybody else wants to say anything quickly before we move on, we do have a fear we're going to get mired in budget eventually here. So thank you all. Thank you for sharing about East Hardwick. Next up is town manager's report given by the people who work in the town manager's office, which is not you yet. So we're in between.
This is your one and only buy.
So
I'm on furlough this week.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to report anything from the town manager's office?
The only thing, we're just gonna kind of talk about what's going on down there in the office.
Now's the time.
And so it's a really busy time of year for us. We've got W-2s, 1099s, and of course we're cross-training for all of those pieces, and then we'll be doing the town report and finalizing this budget. It's a busy time of year. We've got plenty to do, and it's the end of the quarter, so we have a lot of grant reporting and progress reports and a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Paying select board members.
Paying the select board. All right, that was short and sweet. Thank you. Next, Tom Fadden, I'm guessing, is out, either spent the day plowing.
Yeah, they were up early this morning.
I saw him yesterday early. So was Danny, just for the record.
So the other thing I will share on, I guess on behalf, is at the last meeting, we talked about the whole plow thing. They did get the F-250 equipped with a plow. It had to be installed by the dealer.
That's not right.
In order, they did, in order to not void the warranty, the dealership.
Oh, the F-250.
Yes.
Warranty.
So it had to be like factory installed in order to not void the warranty that we purchased.
My warranty's void on my new truck I bought.
And generally that is, and it actually was, I think, $300 cheaper than the quote that we had. So
that's all.
It's been installed, it's being used. I saw Tom out in it this morning. That's what's happening. Pearlie's truck had a little breakdown today. They had to bring it down to Milton, I believe he said, and they will have it back by 11 tomorrow. So it's going to be a quick fix. I don't know exactly what it is or what the cost is, but we certainly can't afford to be down another truck. Tom's truck is still at Clark's being fixed, and we don't have a time frame for that. But in the meantime, we're improvising with the F-250.
Which seems to be working okay on the little roads, as far as I can see.
I mean,
living on a little road.
I think it's just taking a little bit longer, but they're improvising, so.
That's okay.
Improvising, so, yeah.
Good speed control.
So. So,
good.
That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Darren, since you're here.
Sure.
Police department, I know you asked this question earlier, but before the meeting was going about dog issues.
Yes, where they
go?
The police department.
They go to the police department. So it means you call the police department number and you'll get somebody who will take take down your complaint or whatever you have, your concern, your complaint.
That is correct.
Okay, perfect.
That's all I needed.
All right, good. Anything else you want to tell us about the police?
Just that last night, RJ was offered the vacant position by Chris Tatro, and RJ Caldwell, and he accepted last night, so he's going to be meeting tomorrow with Amanda to do the paperwork. He was a part-time officer that's been working for us.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yep, so
that's good.
So that position's filled, and we're looking at a couple other people for the cops grant.
Great.
So the takes from the dog, the car, everything's gone?
Done.
Yep.
That's
done.
Okay.
Done.
Yep. Great.
And the funds from that was put back into capital. I spoke with the auditors on that, and they said basically you put it back into capital where we purchased the SUV and the K9 out of, so that's what's happened with that $30,000.
All right.
Okay?
Perfect.
Thank you. Great.
What's that?
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you. I appreciate you
No
joining
problem.
us.
Yep, Aaron, apologize, but.
Take care of the wife.
All right.
Take care.
Next is Hardwick Electric report. If anybody wants to give that.
So we don't need to have that on there every month.
Cut up with their time. Cut up with their
Back on
time.
schedule.
Hope Springs Eternal.
Right, but you see what I'm saying is, we don't expect them to come every meeting, do we? Isn't it once a month?
Yeah, but we need to get onto some sort of
Right, that's
schedule
what
with
I'm
them. So
thinking.
right now it's so hit or miss.
Well, I hate to, they're here last month, so.
They were, the last meeting, Mike gave us
So I hate
the
to,
rundown.
you gotta give
Yeah,
them
I
credit
know.
where credit's due. I don't
Okay,
think
you're
they're
right,
expecting
you're
it
right.
tonight.
They were here.
I don't wanna give them no extra, you know that, but gotta give them what's due.
Yep, you're right. Okay, item 1, select board to discuss and consider approval of a cover photo for 2018 town report. Last time we talked about doing, you're looking confuzzled. Last time we talked about doing maybe a photo of the section house was our idea. So.
Well, I came with 3 photos, one showing it as it was rotting away at the side of the railroad track, and as it is currently today revitalized. I also have a picture of it in progress. sort of
That's a
what...
cool photo, actually.
Pardon me?
That's a cool photo, the in-progress one.
Yeah, showing what had to be added and stuff like that. Were there other ideas for other pictures?
This is black and white, right?
Pardon me?
Yeah, it's gonna be black and white typically.
Yeah, right. And I can crop these. I mean, I can, and I suppose the question is, do you want to do 1, 2, or 3 on the cover?
Or something else, if anybody
Or
else
something
has
else, right.
an idea.
These decisions we make. I say go with what looks best. I mean,
Something that's aesthetically pleasing.
you know what I'm saying?
What about?
I like all 3, but they're all different.
I like that one. Do you have these digitally, so you could flip it to black
I don't
and white?
have these digitally yet, but I can scan them. I mean, that's not a problem. I can scan and crop them and
all
you
3,
know, change it.
where we started.
Well, I kind of like the idea of all 3. Yeah, that you've
All
got
right.
here, and they don't have to be, you know, like this.
Right.
They could be sort of montaged.
I'll make a motion we do that.
You can go a little smaller on the fonts and probably get them all 3 on.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
even in that spot that
Or
there,
just have that
that
so
there
you can look
is,
at-
right?
Yeah.
You could, small, shrink them and,
I made a motion. Do all 3. Get it done.
Danny moves to do all
Is there a
3.
chance we have 4? 'Cause
No, you're just you're gonna have to wing it. You can put one sideways.
somebody's a typing.
We decided the section house, let's just let someone that has.
Just run them diagonally.
Can do it.
Yep.
Diagonal.
Make it work, that's not my.
So the motion to run all 3.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So you're gonna get those to me, Liz?
I will scan them, crop them, and send them to you.
Or really, if it turns out that some other photo is like better, do that too.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
If it wasn't black and white, I would have said maybe
Go with the yellow barn, because it would be great to do that, and then in a couple of years, when this project's done and the building is so amazing, do it again, like the before and after.
Let's wait until we get to
I
the,
was gonna say, so if it's a Chinese restaurant, are you gonna put that on in a few years?
Yeah.
The what?
I said, if it's a Chinese restaurant down there, you're gonna put that on? You know what I'm saying,
Yeah, we
I don't
gotta- we
think we should
gotta-
use yellow.
we gotta wait and see what happens down there.
Yeah. That's something
Okay,
that-
so
Let's see
that's
the
the
proof
easy
there.
item.
Yeah, that was the easy one.
We should go down and take a picture of the yellow barn, so if it turns out good, then we can put the picture on.
Right.
Next, all right, we're moving on. Item 2 is select board discuss and consider approval of economic development loan to Aubrey St. Louis to purchase airport. Aubrey's here again. Sorry to drag you back. So last time we met, and I think we threw back some kind of ideas for things we would need to feel comfortable to make the loan.
Right, we didn't go over all the conditions. I called Aubrey yesterday and let her know that we're looking for the real estate plot.
Yeah.
So, we haven't spoke, so.
And we don't, so if you want.
Do this all in open session?
Right, we don't need to do this all in open session because, we don't need to get into like your personal finances in a public meeting. So we could do it in an executive session later. I suppose we could do it now.
Well, they're here, so.
Yeah, you're here now.
We have an executive session.
Yeah, but if there are things that you feel comfortable sharing with us in public regarding these things, then that's great. If not, we can talk about it in private after.
After, but still tonight?
Yep.
That's fine with me.
Would that be better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good.
That, you're saying after, like at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, so
It might be
my
a little
only
while.
concern is that's gonna be a while.
I
It's
know.
at the end of, it is tonight, but it's the last thing on our agenda.
Maybe like almost an hour from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get there as fast as we can.
Yeah, we could try to motor through.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So if you want.
Yes.
Is there a way to go offline and do it right now?
There is, we typically don't,
I'm
but
just
we
asking.
could,
Schedule again.
somebody could make a motion to go into an executive session now and
Leaf
do
is
it.
shaking his head no.
Leaf doesn't like it.
Well, Leaf's not charged. I have to remind him of that quite a bit.
He's looking out for the viewing public.
Let's get it clear, Leaf. You're not in charge.
No, don't upset him, all right? You gotta have a decent relationship.
Well, anyway, these people are here.
Yeah, they're here.
Told to come in executive session if we need one. You should have known that we don't need one.
Yeah.
Not sure why it's even on here in open session unless you guys have made decisions. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see your point.
So,
Yeah.
We're just gonna step out, make my little one a bottle, and we'll be back.
okay, thank you.
That works.
No worries.
Okay.
Thanks for your flexibility. Sorry for our rigidity.
So,
all right.
on to item 3.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Next is do we have no one to represent the Better Connections grant? All right.
Yet, because now we're ahead.
We're not ahead.
Behind, and now we're ahead.
We need to
Who's
motor
supposed to be
though.
here?
You know, I should know.
Eric, who was in this email? Or
I was in the email,
In the email?
but there were a bunch of other folks in the email, including, I think, a lot of the East Hardwick
Cheryl's
folks.
in it, I'm in it, guy from Greensboro.
So there's,
Boy,
okay, so,
I hate to say it, but we miss John. We're about as dysfunctional tonight.
I know. I'm like wandering. Okay, let me tell you what I know. So, there are some folk, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. There are some folks from East Hardwick, or some Greensboro Bend and East Hardwick that were interested in putting together a Better Connections grant to look at planning for doing stuff around the rail trail, basically. So it's an application that would be kind of a joint venture between Greensboro, the Greensboro Bend section, and Hardwick, the East Hardwick section. And this grant was originally going to be I think a $75,000 grant, but then so the guy who's leading the charge and project managing the thing is Dan Predpaul from Greensboro, who's on their planning commission, and he got talked into adding on it's like 25 or 30,000 for water. Clean water, because there's no match, I think, for that money. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but anyway, it's about, so the grant is to do planning around the rail trail, and the request from the folks who are organizing this is that the select board resolve to support this. I think I said in my email, I don't know how many people read my email, but I sent an email when I
did.
Okay, so this involves like our, support, our like moral support. It involves our financial support in that I think they'll look to us to supply half the match.
And how much is the match?
Right, so here I am again, unprepared. But I think it's like 3,500.
3,500, and they want.
I think is our portion. I think it's 10% match. I know, it sounds odd, because it's usually 20.
So there's a lot of questions
that I don't have the answer to.
Well, I'm not going to decide tonight. And the other thing is, the LVRT is a great thing. I've been involved in that project better than 15 years. The town of Hardwick has got a lot into it right now, and on the table right now.
Yeah.
I think we should get caught up on complete a couple of these projects before we take on too much more. I understand the enthusiasm is spreading like wildfire, but as a town, we're putting a lot of resources into it in the next couple of years. We've already promised a lot to it.
We have.
The grant deadline for this particular grant is the 31st of January. So we have time for them to come back and really explain what they want from us.
So, and this is a lot of money to put, for planning to do, I don't know, I would need to know a lot about it.
That was my reaction as well.
I would need to know a lot about it. I would rather see 100 grand put into actually doing something. I'm not a planner fan, not a tune of 100 grand. I don't know enough about it to understand, what are they going to plan on doing?
Which is why I think we should invite them to the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
I think that, we should move it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
They do have their ideas around things around
Right.
ancillary
sure.
structures and
Yeah.
whatever that really is planning. It's not so much, my understanding is not so much planning the trail as planning around the
No,
trail.
right, I understand that
Yeah.
from the email.
Yeah.
With the building, I understand what it's for,
So we're gonna send this down the road 2 weeks.
I mean, we're talking about planning stuff around the trail that isn't even built yet.
Correct.
Right.
Bingo.
See, it's,
Yep.
Are they supposed to be coming tonight, and we're just not to that time? Or, they're not gonna come in here when we moved on,
everybody should
right?
come at 6. That's when the meeting starts.
I doubt it.
Okay.
So I've always
I
said.
That's all I wanted to know.
I
As
doubt
long as
it.
we're not
Yeah,
gonna.
no times on that.
No
I think, I know Dan
You're right.
wasn't able to come tonight.
If I can come on
Brenda
at
Buckley
7:30,
was
and it
involved
starts
and
at 6,
he's
I go
not
to
able to
Water
come
Slide
tonight.
Lane.
So then we can do it the
From there,
next
6.
meeting.
We'll do it the next.
So who's going to communicate to these people that they're expected to come to our next meeting?
Erica.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Sorry that I probably could have had some of those answers, but I don't.
Sounds like we got time.
Item 4 is selling, I wrote down selling tools, that's my shorthand. So, but it's a discussion about selling some tools that were
Tools and equipment.
Equipment that was collateral for an economic development
What happened to the
loan.
four-wheeler?
Was there a four-wheeler?
Yeah.
There was?
Yeah.
I did see something in the file about that.
There was an old
but
junky
It's
four-wheeler.
not there. Like,
It's not, it's definitely not in the storage container.
No.
Because I went there shortly after the
No.
stuff went there. I would have noticed. I noticed a lot of band saws that look really nice.
so. Did you want me to speak of this?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the special meeting on December 28th outlined the plan for this equipment. There's a CNC machine, which is basically the most valuable asset in the whole lot. Then there's a bunch of drill presses, bandsaws, etc. At that time, there was a quorum. They voted for...
The select board.
Yes, the select board, excuse me, to basically counter-offer this gentleman's offer, which was, at that time, he offered $3,500 for everything. That was too low. So the plan was we would counter-offer $6,500 for everything, or we would move to a sealed bid process, where we would advertise in the newspaper, give viewing times, and do a sealed bid process, with $6,500 being our bottom line. He came back and said, that was too much, but he has now asked if the town would consider $2,500 for just the tools. No, he doesn't want the CNC machine, but everything else. So at this point, the select board would need to decide, do we want to just move towards the sealed bids and decline that? Or do we think that we could get $4,000 for the CNC alone and still get that bottom line of $6,500 that we were hoping for?
Keep it all. So it always a lot.
Yeah, that was kind of our, that was our thought last time.
That was what our plan was, and,
Okay.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
So I told him that it would be discussed at this evening's meeting, and we would let him know, and...
Yeah,
Just
because we
like it's
discussed it at length when we decided
Right.
not to accept the other amount.
So,
We already did
rather
that.
than rehash, just move forward with the sealed bid that we talked about before.
So could we get a good list? Do we have a list of models and what the stuff is?
We have a list of what is in there.
Doesn't-
Basically, like,
doesn't have
two
them.
drill it's, yeah.
It's gonna be hard to get, I'll have to go look at this stuff.
Well, we're gonna advertise, like, 2-hour slots to come and view the stuff. I think that's what we talked about.
Yeah, we just talked about, we'll advertise it briefly in some local.
How much stuff would you say a bunch? Like 3 drill presses, 3 bandsaws?
Yeah, but the bandsaws are nice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You should be able to
But
see it's
Oh, yeah, so there is a list.
Milwaukee
I don't have-
K1695, because these
Yep.
people are gonna look it up online and say it's worth $500.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm unclear, the list I got just was pretty vague, it just said what the tool was, but it didn't have like model numbers and,
Right,
We
so
don't have any of
we'll
that.
need to
It
get
was-
that.
so somebody will need to do that.
Before
That's what you're talking
John
about.
left, he had Tom just go out, take a few pictures, and basically make a quick inventory list of what was in there. So that's really all we have at this point, one CNC machine and so forth and so
So we'll
on.
need a slightly better inventory before we advertise it. One that has like make and
More
model
thorough, yeah.
of everything.
Can I go take a look at it? I'll get some of that
Can you
information.
make the list?
Yeah?
Yeah, well, we sent Tommy to do it once
Danny will
already.
make the list.
Hale's gonna do it.
Danny's gonna make the list.
Yeah, he was just asked to do a general list, that's
Yeah.
what he
Right,
provided.
but we
yeah.
need one more, that it shouldn't take long.
Okay.
Where is it?
And
It's in a storage shed, yeah, I don't think we want to exactly disclose that
Yeah.
location.
Yeah,
It's in a storage shed. Yeah.
Number of options.
it's a head scratcher,
Not gonna
Danny.
tell you, Danny.
The further part of our plan was to resolve this by the end of February,
Done.
Yeah.
and we figured just short
You got
advertising.
the right man on it right now.
All right, short advertising window, a short viewing window, sealed bids,
Done.
and
And we already know what we have for bottom line, so.
we'll reserve the right to not take any of the bids, but we'd really like to sell
Yeah,
it.
we really need to.
And I could assist by getting the word to, I got a contact with the Forest Products Association, so maybe that would be, an audience we could get the information out to that might help
Right,
us.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Moving along. Thank you very much. Next,
done now.
budget.
Roadblock.
Roadblock. So true. Oh, you're doing this all remotely. Fancy. Remote control.
If it works.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
coming on.
you're such a skeptic tonight, Danny.
I know.
If it
Well,
works.
technology,
Tonight's no different.
Okay, normally.
Riz, you know,
Here it goes.
Here we go. Look at that.
look at that.
Hey, I can even see colors. All right.
Okay, so at this point, we've been through this a few times. I have a couple items specifically that need to be addressed and finalized. Under the capital, we have a few areas here that had not been decided. One of them being right here. So this is the Cary Road property that we talked about, whether we were going to do, we estimated
And really just
30,000.
threw that at that.
Yeah, we just threw it out, so that decision needs to be finalized. And then,
Let's do it, let's decide.
in addition,
You want, okay.
okay,
Decrease the.
Take it one at a time, just knock them off.
Can you squish it down a little so we can see a little more at a time?
yeah, I can try. Okay.
Yeah, and then we also have the rec capital.
The rec capital, the $5,000 request, and then the vault door that is probably going to be upwards of 18 to 20,000. And when does that need to be done?
Yep.
So these are the items here that need to be decided on.
Okay, so let's stay with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so let's go so the Cary Road one, that property, I mean, 3 years is actually kind of a good timeline on that, because that's kind of the timeline that is going to play out anyway through the legal realm, we think. And 30,000 probably is a reasonable figure, maybe even a low figure for.
I think
Clean
John
up.
might have got an estimate already from All
Yeah.
Metals on that possibly,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, it should be pretty close, so just.
But it's not an extravagant estimate, I guess, right? Like, it's realistic.
I think we should keep it in. I think it's a good long-term investment.
I think if we don't keep it there, we're just gonna have to,
Put it there next year.
yeah, or bear all the costs when we do it.
I think originally when we very first started this, we had 30 all at
Right,
once,
so
but
that's
that just
painful to
wasn't
spread it out.
realistic, which is why we
And
split it up
talked
over
about
3
this,
years.
You know, from, you know, creating economic development corporation and all this
Yeah.
stuff in the future. So this will be a placeholder for match money maybe or something at least, if nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a.
I think we should leave it there for.
Yeah, yeah. All right, anybody else?
Let's just do it.
Lucian?
Okay.
Good to plan ahead.
I don't know.
You don't know, okay.
Yeah.
Next is rec.
I thought they were gonna come and talk about it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did last time.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Suzanne
so
came.
That was Suzanne, she was talking about doing a playground down at the Hodgkin Field, which is, I think, a good idea.
I would like to see them complete a project.
Yeah, before we
Still
find
very
a new
disappointed in
one.
the skating rink, not being able to be shoveled. maintained.
Is it happening now?
It's up, but it's not being taken care of. And doesn't seem to be a plan to do that. And to me, they've got a project again, they've got a project on the table.
And they've got the project of the picnic tables and the grills.
Right, that's what I'm saying, they got the Mattville grant and the Mattville project to do. And I know from a grant, I know the grants.
Keep them focused.
So, that's right. And the grant, if you submit a grant, you can get they don't need to have the money in the budget. They can get a letter from us saying that we'll back it. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
I guess,
Letter of support.
A letter of support from the select board will get you through a grant.
well, kind of exactly like the Better Connections grant, that's all they're asking for.
At the grant application level, so
Yep.
they don't necessarily need to have that in their bank account, and I don't honestly think that they need to get used to having $5,000 put in their capital budget every year.
So you're thinking of going next year potentially
I'm
if they get
thinking
the
that
grant?
Let's wait
they
until,
accomplish some goals and they get more money.
I
is what
believe
think.
Suzanne mentioned last time that they had about 11,000 in capital right now, and that is an accurate figure. I think it was 11,500. That's even before we were to consider giving them another 5. So they have some capital funds in there already.
yep.
So they're not being left in the lurch.
No, and they'll
Did you
have
say that was going towards the
No, this was
Yeah, it
a
is.
pot of money just to
Yeah.
be there for when they decided to go for another grant, they would have the money.
Right. We can do it other ways.
We could do it other ways.
And our budget is.
We could use everything.
We can, right, we can
Right,
use
we
it.
don't
now.
need to
We
be
don't-
putting money down in there that
We're
we
not
don't need.
flush in this budget. So, yeah, so let's zero that out. And we can consider it later if they have a specific proposal of a grant, but in the short run, it'd probably be better for them to focus on the project they already have going.
I just want to make a quick change right here before.
Right, it's not that we wouldn't support another project necessarily, but we don't need to have that money waiting there.
So the vault door,
We did nothing for the current fiscal year,
right, because
So-
yep,
Because we had,
and the cost estimate is around 18 to 20 for the particular fire-rated door that
Right.
is required by
with all the
insurance.
concrete cutting and everything. Yep. So,
but
I
what
would
did
like
we
the vault
do
doors
already on the vault door?
Discussion to go away, something.
$10,000.
My career.
So we did that 10,000 because it was supposed to
Had to be
happen.
done.
that was the estimate at
away.
the time, and it had to be done right off.
And so that's already in our.
It's already sitting,
Already
that
set
10,
aside
We need
for
8
it.
more
yeah.
to get it done, or 10 more.
8, 10,
10 more.
probably closer to 10, yeah.
Well, this is a way to get started.
Yes, it would be quite
It
painful
still
to throw
goes
another
back to the
10
pri-
at
It
it.
still goes back to the priority, I mean, that's fine, but he's gonna wait another 5 years?
Well, I
Do you think
don't,
we're gonna start having any insurance issues with,
Well, I don't think we would.
With it not
I mean, if
being
we did,
up
we
to
just have
code?
to write
Not
12.
yet.
So I'm saying if we did, we just have to,
or we'd have to hire off-site storage temporarily,
yeah, I don't.
right? I mean, there is fire-safe storage, such a thing exists.
It's not- probably not cheap either, I would imagine.
Well, it'd be temporary, but, or, I don't know.
Yeah,
Short-term.
And it seems like this is a
But
pretty
this is a
small.
way to head, and if we
steps
run into
to
a
get there.
barrier that says we have to do it now,
at least we'd have 2 more
at
grand
least we've
sorted.
got the 2 more grand toward it.
I don't really know the urgency, like where we're at now.
I have no problem putting 2 grand a year in there, but I don't know if that's gonna solve, again, I don't know. I've been told that absolutely had to be done tomorrow, and I've
Yeah.
been told, last year, we were told it had to be done now, basically. That's why we didn't put any money in there, I'm guessing. I wasn't here, but,
I don't know.
so.
Leave it with the way
I don't
it
know.
is.
There is stuff down there now, right? I
Well,
think.
there's one step
It's
down.
full, I don't know what's in there, I've only
walked in to put some boxes that we cleaned out of the 2 upstairs ones. It's scary full, but I don't know what the stuff is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish that we really knew
what the urgency is.
Yeah, if it had to be done, it has to be done. It's not $10,000 if it has to be done in the grand scheme of things. It's better than you got to build a reservoir.
Right. Yes, it's a lot cheaper than that.
You know what I'm saying? You got to do it this year.
Right.
So.
There are records in there that never go out of being current records.
Right, they got to be there.
That you have to keep them. There's a lot of stuff in there that has, the schedule has run out on it. It's just wonderful stuff.
So the vault is fireproof. The door is the only thing that's not fireproof.
Yep.
Apparently.
Yep.
So, God forbid, we ever had a catastrophic fire in this building, that area in the basement, how much fire is going to go through the door?
Right.
I'm thinking not much.
Right, and it's in the basement.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this was it's a stone building.
Yeah. Right.
So you got the floors.
It seems like our risk is low.
It seems like our risk is very low, although it's a risk. Like,
it is a risk. But we don't have our town land records in there. They're stored in vaults that have varying degrees of fireproofness.
I guess my point is, it's $2,000. It sounds like it could last 5 years before we need it, even though then it'll be $15,000.
We just won't set the building on fire before then.
I don't even like talking about that stuff, but I don't care. $2,000 is not going to break us or make us.
Just leave it in there.
Leave
I
it.
say we leave it.
Leave it.
Okay.
It's better than not doing anything. See if we put
It's a placeholder, if nothing else. I mean, next year, if we had to bump, it's a lot easier with 2,000 next year to bump it to say 3.
Right. It's kind of like I wish we put 2,000 in last year.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think last year we thought we were getting a door for 10.
Oh, is that what happened?
Turns out it didn't meet their specs.
Oh, that's why you guys, that's why the 10 grand was.
Yeah, we thought it was 10.
You got tricked.
Then it turns out it wasn't adequate.
Okay.
What else do we have going on?
This one here.
We want to take out another 20 grand.
Oh, this isn't the one there was questions on, sorry, it's a different one.
Are we paying him?
Okay.
I think it's hourly, so I don't think we pay.
This one.
Can that line be adjusted?
This one, so in the bottom section, it was the lister's dilemma, I suppose, about the assessor and what we needed that salary to be, because some of the salary can come from the reappraisal fund, which has about $75,000 in it, which obviously won't last forever, but we do get some state payment every year, I believe, on that, as far as I know.
The only, I think, justification for using that money is that it softens the blow and doesn't make us have to, in one budget year, fully fund that. And it allows us to step it. I think that this would just be an interim step, and that probably next year we'd want to put it up to whatever is realistic.
Yeah, not rely on that.
Right, and that we're just going to use that assessor fund as a buffer.
Okay. So
Well, we're getting down to where we're going to have to make some decisions on it.
So are you comfortable with the 16 then? Is that?
Our low bid was 20-something.
Yeah.
23? 3?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
So, it's already January and we haven't hired this person,
Well, yeah, but this is for next July 1st, we'll have somebody that's over.
Yeah, so we will have this person for that.
Yeah.
And
for that whole fiscal year. But you could use this 16, it gets it into our operating budget, and then we can supplement with the reappraisal fund just for this year, and then we'll have to face it next year.
And by then we'll know
exactly what it costs.
I mean, that's our biggest problem right now, right, is we still really haven't decided exactly what.
The details on it.
We need a plan to execute on that and get it
So just leave it in there for now.
Before town meeting, ideally.
Yeah, the holidays kind of hijacked it for me anyway. But yeah. So we met with, we called references and stuff, and so I think the next step might be to meet with the listers and the two Okay, so we'll work on that.
Okay, cool.
I was able to, on this same sheet here, make a cut in the part-time labor because essentially we looked back and we've used none this year, and last year that $214 was simply when we were transitioning to a new custodian and he hadn't quite come on, so we had paid him under part-time labor, and this is under the payroll and elected officials. And so realistically, we were able, exactly, because we're not going to have like part-time office labor. So this category, I don't even know where the $3,500 came in, but given that we've used none this fiscal year, $200, I put it at $500, which was awesome to be able to do that reduction.
John used part-time labor for cemeteries or something one year. Remember, we did some part-time labor.
But that don't even, I don't know if that would even come in under here.
No, we created a cemetery line though, after that.
Yeah,
right, so I don't know, take it out.
I think we're good.
Yay.
So that.
Look at that.
Now we're talking.
So that was nice. It took it down, I don't know, 7 basis points maybe or something on the overall, but every little bit counts.
Yeah, like 9 more of those, that'd be good.
So let's see here. So let's just go back to here and see what it looks like. So
4.7.
it was like 4.95, I think.
Yeah.
So we've come down almost another 25 basis points.
Yeah.
So that's where we are now. I don't believe, going through these, the rest of these were sort of nothing we could really play with too much. And I think I've answered most of the, oops, that's a little bit too much. Most of the questions. PDs, that's good. Office and payroll. Buildings, there's not, that was really great that we took a big reduction in our building insurance with passive. That was very helpful.
Right.
Fire and line items, really no big questions there. Our normal capital contributions, what we've been doing, and the schedule. There was a little bit of a, this just came in last time, was the employment practices insurance went up like $3,700. So that was a bit of a hit, but it's insurance. There's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. We made a note here that with the K9 SUV gone, that was scheduled to be replaced in, what was it, 21? And so basically, I did talk with Aaron, and he said then we'll just, because of the rotation of the cars, there basically won't be a need for a car, so we won't change any of our allocation, but we're just not planning on replacing a cruiser that year.
Yep.
So, but that's not, so that was just a note there. Capital roads, really no, oh, I know what I had a question about here, and maybe without Tom being here, but this is something we usually do put in the town report, which is our paving schedule. So basically we would remove this fiscal year 19 and add fiscal year 24 and what are our paving projects. So I don't know if I should just get that from Tom, if he would be able to tell me what those are. Okay. So, because we'll want to update that.
Tom and John had maintained a list.
Okay, perfect. And so that way I can know what's on the schedule for that year.
Yep.
Okay.
Tom and Sean.
Got his pen out.
We've already hashed out that. Library, as you know, had discovered an error in the math, and I have that in yellow because that's a new figure, and it really doesn't change any of this information. It's just what they'll have in their fund balance is a little bit higher. So that's, none of this has changed. Their overall is that. And then Trails and Rec, last time I think I showed you it changed by $50 each or something like that because of, I updated the insurance figures because I got the actual bills. So like a $500 increase on Trails and $700 on Rec. And that's it. That's where things stand as of now. So we come back to here.
The 4.72 is our actual budget increase that we're looking at.
And then, right. there.
Which results in a pretty big hit on taxes. Because our revenue growth is small. And then we also had the discussion last time about how that because people won't feel the full impact of that 5.92% if they vote to approve it, because we actually billed them a little higher than we budgeted last year.
And you know what I just realized is this governor highway safety has to be less, because in this year, we are still getting the 6,000 equipment grant, but we won't in fiscal year 20, so that just changes.
Do we balance that with a decrease in spending in equipment?
Yeah, because we will only do the operations and DUI campaigns without the equipment, so we get reimbursed for that.
Right, but you just took out the revenue. I'm just wondering if there's a corresponding expense, or that's already done.
It's the same, because it's just that we get the 6,000, you'll see, I'll show you, it's the same. So 9,500, and then,
so governor's highway equipment, we'd already taken out the expense.
Right.
Just hadn't taken out the revenue.
Correct.
Oh, that's too bad.
And actually, we had, I think, in the other budget, I was just playing around with that today when I saw the new information, but then realized it was for this fiscal year, not next.
Just $1,000, that's all.
So.
Doesn't help. We have Tanya here. Do we want to talk about town clerk office budget?
Sure.
We don't have Alberta. So I don't, if you're comfortable speaking on behalf of the town clerk's office somewhat.
Not really.
So Alberta had outlined in email some changes she wanted to make that are and additional work that would be done with additional hours. Do you want to give us any update?
Right, I printed them off too. I know she wants to do a lot more with the website, so people can go on and look up records, ask for licenses, certified stuff. There's going to be, I was reading about it today, July 1st, that's a new act where anybody they actually have to fill out an application, but we have to do certified for any vital record for any town, whereas now if you want birth, death, or marriage, it's just the town they're in. And so starting in July, we will have to do for every single town. So if somebody from Greensboro and they're not open, they can come down to us and we'll have to do it now. Which is still, it's the same fee, so we would get the fee, not Greensboro, but Alberta thinks that's gonna add a lot of time. Yeah, and now it's not, whereas right now when somebody can call or they just stop in the office, we get the book, find where it is, photocopy it. Now they'll have to fill out an application and have an ID, and we have to verify that.
How much planning for this is going on?
Planning for what?
Well, for putting this ability into place, or putting this program in place by July 1st. I mean, you say she wants to do that.
No, it's not a want. That Act 46 is a has to do.
It has to.
That's a state.
How much planning has gone into making that possible? Do you have any idea about what the throughput is, how many records it's going to involve, how much scanning it's going to involve?
I don't know about where
you don't.
Has checked it.
Because you've got 6 months.
I don't know, sure it's fair, but.
To get it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure. There's a lot I haven't learned yet. So, yeah, it kind of came more as an observer this evening. I don't know the answer for that.
Concerned for her job.
Thank you, Danny. That's correct.
Didn't think I said that loud, but.
No, but
well, you know, it's
helpful to have you here to just voice those.
Right, but she's not really in a position. Alberta's town clerk, and the problem I have is not with her.
No, I don't have a
It's
problem.
with Alberta and the way she went about making these decisions without thinking about the funding, the budget process. So, yeah, I'm not really comfortable. I think Alberta should have been, at some point, discussed this with us. She still hasn't.
Well,
Or should it be
we
an
need
email?
she did send several emails.
Yeah.
But we can't have a meeting and.
It's hard to have a discussion.
Yeah,
Discussion
right, so,
over email.
Right. It's just informational,
So
one way.
what I did was I went through and made a little list of all the things that Alberta said we're gonna have the additional time was gonna provide for. I was excited about the idea of new homeowner packets and giving people a lot of information when they turn up in town about where to do everything. Digitizing the town land records, I thought was already in play.
I don't think so.
It's not.
Something we tried to convince them to do.
Right, it's something that
We've been encouraging it.
We've been encouraging. But
And
we
then the
haven't.
mapping thing that I've been on the select board for a while, there was a whole thing with mapping and we can go online and look at.
Yeah, we can, all that
It works.
mapping.
So
yep.
that's not
That-
digitizing.
Well, that happens through the listers and
Right,
the.
that's a tax
zoning.
map, that's not the
That's a different thing.
documentation.
Yeah, it's a tax map.
How I
It doesn't
believe.
really happen through the
Just
town
wanted
clerk's
to clarify,
office.
what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Like land records. are
Tanya, do you
deeds
know how
and
much
Deeds,
planning has
exactly.
gone into the digitizing of the land records?
I don't know what Alberta did. I believe she and Brittany at one point went to a town that already does it to kind of see what they do.
Marshfield, yeah.
But aside from that, I don't know what it's gone into.
And
It's, this COT system, this
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, there would likely be additional cost around that as well.
Well, I didn't have a problem with what they're gonna do, I don't have a problem with it happening, I have a problem having to come up with money.
Yeah, and then there's a thing about online payment and the capabilities of paperless billing for water and sewer and other town services, I assume maybe taxes.
All good things.
I don't know, that could
Those
also
are all good
get
things, but those are
added in.
all things also that probably are not, like, those efforts are, like, you guys, the town clerk's office is probably not going to actually update the website to do that. Probably somebody else needs to update the website.
A lot of this is not
I
amateur
think
work.
she wants us, the section, town clerk section, I think she wants us to learn how to do that. Alberta, I know I have a little experience when I worked at the real estate, updating the website. She was happy when I told her that, so I think that was what she was thinking.
As far as maybe putting a shopping cart on the website or whatever you need to make it,
Yeah.
all that stuff, yeah, you need, it's something that we're gonna have to budget for, or somebody's gonna have to
Correct.
put some money into that, in addition to time.
But maybe that's already in the
So what's,
budget for the town clerk's office, I don't know.
so are we having a discussion about cutting that budget? Is that what this discussion is
This
about?
discussion is about understanding the increase in that.
Well, we can't understand without Alberta.
Well,
That's
My
true,
bad.
but I just wanted to list some of those things out because we're doing this, but people, it's the citizens' taxes, so.
Yeah.
And if we discuss it a little bit more now, even though Alberta's not here, then maybe it saves us some time on town meeting day because this is something that people might want to
I don't know.
Well,
talk about some more.
That Alberta hired Tanya saying that this is what she was going to do, but she did not consider the budgetary impact of that. And she did not raise that to the select board. So we are have this dumped in our lap for an 11% increase in the town clerk's office. It doesn't reflect on you, Tanya.
No, I know that.
It's a method issue. What was the procedure and how might it have been done better?
Well, I think at this point Alberta is well aware of the select board's feelings on that.
Yeah.
If that's what we're trying to convey, would be my take
So
on that part
that's
of
not
it.
my point, what are we gonna do about it?
So, yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
that's tonight.
If somebody wants, my feeling is that we roll with it. And take our
I
lumps.
think we roll with it.
We take our lumps and just say next time this needs to happen in a different manner so we can budget for it. But the services that she wants to provide are going to be useful for the people in town.
Right, and I would like to see some commitment as in, this is the workflow, this is when we expect to get this done, this is who we're going to hire to do this, this is what it's going to cost.
But we're not looking to Tanya for that.
We're not looking to Tanya for that, but I'm just letting Alberta know that
There's gonna be some expectation.
we're agreeing to this on the basis that she says this is going to
That
happen.
actually is going to happen versus this is our wish list.
Hand waving.
Maybe we could couch it a little differently, that we just realize there'll be costs for that. Maybe we'd love to see a plan and how so we can budget for that ahead of time, maybe for next year, for how we're gonna do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because digitizing is not cheap.
Right.
And it's not amateur stuff for the most part with that sort of stuff, nor is setting up a shopping cart.
Yeah.
These are, hand waving is what I think of it as being, but it's hard to nail down.
We're going with it.
Yeah, let's get it.
I'm gonna roll, so.
Yeah.
Okay, but then, right. So we've already touched on all the areas of the budget that I had in mind to touch on tonight. Does anybody else have areas that they're thinking about, especially areas that we could take away from and not add to?
Taking away is not much fun. So, we've been, oh no, go ahead.
Is the lister's line item correct then? We got a lower number than what I heard the low bid was.
Right, so the idea is that we will rob the reappraisal capital fund for 1 year to cover that difference, and thereby kind of softening the blow.
So we get money each year into the reappraisal fund from the state, and everyone's okay to rob it. I mean, I assume it's been mentioned a few times to rob it for this.
Allocate.
We're gonna reallocate.
Reallocate.
It's an eligible expense.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, and I imagine I haven't looked this far into, so we get some money from the state, but we also set aside some money, let's see here.
It looked like we would have enough, when it came time to reappraise, we would still have enough.
Well, we're hoping that this process will lessen the reappraisal cycle.
Although there are different schools of thought on that, but that was John's school, the thought was that it would lengthen the time between reappraisals, so it would thereby be a legitimate expense.
So this time it seems like a safe, logical thing to do.
I think it's a safe, logical thing. I mean, it's a way to not take it all in one.
Yeah.
Can we get down to the summary to the bottom?
So we've been very fortunate.
Well, it's right there.
The last several years.
It's right there in the middle line.
With our budget.
Yeah.
Right there.
You're saying our luck has run out?
It's not double digit, it's far from it. I mean, things happen. I don't know if we're at the point where we're gonna have to cut something that we funded.
Cut something that we funded that people are used to having as a service.
That's right, we're gonna cut, somebody's gonna be ugly if we move any less. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily our job until town meeting when they say no.
Right, because it's not like
if the town's good with it, then
because it's not like we've added anything extravagant. We're not starting new programs. We're not starting new departments. We're just trying to keep government running.
We even downsized the police department, which is not downsized, but absolutely we did, I guess. But you know what I mean? That's always a criticism. That police department's too big. But we shouldn't have that. We don't need 5 cruisers. Well, we did that, and
we're still here.
Not because we wanted to, but it's happened. And we still have that increase.
Can we just go over that thing again that happened last year where there was the
hold harmless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just go through that one?
All right, I'll try it. Unless you have it on the tip of your brain, I'll try to do it.
Well, you start and I can.
Okay, so here's my recollection of what happened. So we had budgeted as if we were getting the regular hold harmless amount that's a kickback from the state to help reimburse towns for loss of revenue that happens through current use. So we had budgeted for what we thought we were going to get based on what we got the year before. Then we got a letter I think Alberta's office got a letter from the state saying we're only going to get like half that amount. So instead of it being like 160, it was like 80 or something. That was the information we had when tax bills went out. So when the select board set the tax rate, Alberta came and said, it has to be higher than we thought it was gonna be because we're gonna be missing this revenue. So we may as well adjust it right now and then we'll be all good. So we did. And then John ended up chasing it because he had somebody asked him and said, are you sure that's really right? It was a citizen. Anyway, and so he chased it, and it turned out that the state had made a quite large mistake after many, many calls. And
to the tune of the 66,000.
So it got us, so we actually received 66,000 more in so we basically were back to what we budgeted, but we'd adjusted our tax rate as if we didn't have that. So the way that plays in here is that if you look at the anticipated tax increase, that is over the tax rate increase is an increase based on what our estimate was last year, right? Or is it based on our actual from last year? From the bills that went out?
Actual, right, this would be the opportunity of which we could change it.
No, but when we look at, no, where's the percent on the other tab, the revenue and budget summary? And we go up, or yeah, right there. So when we look at the property, what we think we have to raise for property tax is
$66,000 less. Which is
right, because is the over a couple columns of 22,158,302.
Right.
Is that what we actually billed, or is that what we budgeted?
This is the budget for the current fiscal year.
So we actually billed for an extra 60-some thousand.
I would say so, yes.
So the actual increase to taxes, is going to be less because we overbilled.
So is it reflected?
But we didn't talk.
Is it all reflected there?
No, because at the last meeting, John had mentioned that wasn't a good idea because it would come back to bite us in the next year, because I'm trying to think how he explained that. Because it's a one-time thing.
No, but just in how we think about that percentage increase that you're hovering over right now, that's 6%.
Yeah.
So that's a 6% increase in the amount that has to be raised through property tax, and that percentage increase, that $132,000 increase, is from what we thought we were going to have to raise for the money we're in to what we think we're going to need to raise for the next one.
Right, and so I'm just going up top. So then basically if you put 66 up in the revenues, it would then reduce that. That's what it would look like.
So the actual increase to property taxes, if everything went to plan, and the grand list estimation was right, and the revenue, if everything was right, then it would only be a 3% increase to taxes over last year to what was actually billed.
So then...
Right? Are we right in just...
That's just, I get lost in there somewhere, but I just don't, I don't totally understand it, but...
I think basically all we're saying is last year, we overbilled to generate 66,000 more in revenue that we thought wasn't coming. And people paid it.
People have prepaid.
People paid that.
People paid it
so this year,
it was too expensive to re-bill and do that whole thing again.
Exactly, and the hit to any individual taxpayer was relatively small, and it was a lot of overhead to rebill.
Right.
So we let it ride, and so the result of that is that the increase from this year to next year in the actual bill that you get is going to, if this budget passes, would be closer to 3% rather than 6%.
So how does anybody really understand that though when 6 is printed on the report?
Well, we could discuss it at town meeting and see if everybody could get confused.
I guess.
Because it's not, I mean, the reality is that our budget has gone up. Like our budgeted expenses have gone up. Our expenses have gone up. We're projecting our revenues are not going up to match that.
Right.
And
even with the additional 66 grand, we still are not matching it, but we're closer. So the percentage is less, so.
The actual percentage increase to anybody's tax bill is gonna be less than it looks like.
Right, but we're talking about, it doesn't change what the numbers are.
And all we really vote on is the.
It just means, because otherwise.
The budget that we're asking people to approve the spending budget.
So the way I look at it is if that 66 grand weren't in there, then it would be 7.9%. Increase, or 6.2 or whatever it was.
It doesn't change that, but it changes.
It would be higher, that's all.
So
That's all
I
it would be.
just put in.
It's not making it any less than it is, what we have today.
Right, it's still
The result is, if that money wasn't in there, it would be higher. And that's something that we don't
Could you do
really
that with
need.
another line?
But I don't think it tells anybody anything, it doesn't change.
It's a little bit of voodoo.
That's money that's in there already, so it's,
Well, and-
you know what I mean?
I mean, it's a little
And I think
funny.
part of the discussion about like not using that was because there were some issues with this year's budget where we are going to have shortfalls that are probably going to be upwards of
Right.
$40,000 to $50,000.
In a way, we're very fortunate that we raised.
That we got that money, and
Okay, I just thought it was important.
I don't think any of that changes
Remember
our
that.
numbers, so.
It doesn't change our
Talking
numbers.
about it or trying to
Okay.
explain it doesn't change.
Well, it makes it confusing,
It makes it more confusing. Right.
but
It is what it is, folks. I don't think, I've looked through it, I don't see anywhere
Danny's
where.
making a motion. I can feel it.
Yeah, I make a motion that we go with it. I mean, it's a good budget, it's what it's gonna cost in our best recollection to run the town next year with the given revenues that are assuming that are gonna come in, and that's what a budget is. And if it has to go up, it has to go up. Or, if the townsfolk don't want that to happen on second Tuesday in March, they can say, no,
talk
your
to us
budget's
about
no good,
And this is
figure
what
it
we
out.
want to do.
And then we'll have the discussion on what they want to get rid of.
Can you go down a little so we can see the bottom of the budget summary? So could you include in your motion, Danny, that the select board's gonna propose a budget of
Yes.
$3,359,616 for fiscal year
Yes, that's the motion I
20?
made.
That's the motion he made.
Second.
Are we gonna keep, anybody wanna prolong the pain and?
No, but do you understand what I'm saying?
I
It's
understand
not-
what you're saying.
It's really not the five of us' job to cut services until
Right.
we're told to, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right?
And
It's
we're
our
not-
job to
right,
get
'cause
it.
we don't have anything radical.
It's our job to get it as lean as we can get it,
Yep.
and
Yep.
if that's not lean enough,
And I
people
think,
don't
you know,
tell us.
then the people need to
the
tell
effort
us how
was
to fix
there
it.
in
It's not
trying
our-
to make as
it's not our
many
duty to
cuts
take care of
as
it, you know.
possible.
That's not our responsibility.
Right.
And also
Just vote it down,
expenditures,
baby.
so we're not dealing with the same kind of budget that we have in the current year, where we have several items that were extremely under budgeted, and we're gonna have to deal with that.
Although it seems like every few years, there are always those bumps
Yeah,
where you're like,
absolutely, I think.
we got
Yeah.
our actuals,
Absolutely.
our projections got out of line with our actuals.
You could have a windfall.
We could have a windfall. Let's bring it on. All right, more discussion on the motion to put that budget forward. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. That was good.
Minimally painful.
All right, so, select board reports.
Nothing.
New business?
We need a couple.
I talked to you about something, but I think everything made it onto the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Old business?
Do we have a furnace at the?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask. Are the boys still rubbing sticks together over there?
I just remembered something
Salamander.
that we had briefly talked about, the professional services for the PD contract that comes due on 6/30/20.
We're gonna wing it.
Okay? Wing it.
We're gonna wing it on our own, or we're gonna hire someone?
We're gonna hire somebody, but she's gonna wing it to fit it in the budget.
Right, we'll figure that out.
Because last
That's
time,
Aaron's problem.
last time the legal expenses on that were not budgeted and were upwards of 5, so, yeah.
We're gonna
Let's
be in
just-
that exact same spot.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We cannot squeeze another 5,000 into this, so we're gonna have to,
We'll figure it out. That's how
Figure
we're
it
gonna
out.
work it out.
You're right, though, that was the other
Yes, that was the other thing.
Sorry, the question just came up on old business. Do we know anything about heat at the town garage?
Irving is coming tomorrow for the site inspection,
And Wayne was working over there today.
so
it's
getting
not as-
closer.
It's not March.
No, I got it moved up from February 1st to tomorrow, so almost a month.
That's good.
That blows my mind.
I know, it's crazy.
So, yeah,
Blows my mind, but anyway.
Yeah.
Way the world.
they're coming between 8 and 10 tomorrow.
Great. That's great news. Any other old business? All right, could I have a motion to go into executive session to,
Discuss.
Oh, geez. So we've got another one on here? So to executive session to discuss an economic development loan to Aubrey St. Louis to include Aubrey St. Louis and, are you staying?
I can, yeah.
And Casey, or you want, and Sean Field, or stay?
We're gonna do it here, downstairs?
Down.
So moved.
So
And then
You
also
go-
to discuss and approve the dedication for the
That'll be
2018.
we're gonna do that next. Yeah, and to discuss and approve the dedication of the memorial.
Just gonna be a full room. I say we just kick everybody out of here.
Okay, sounds good. So,
Pack it up, leave.
okay, so motion to go into executive session to discuss
So
those two
moved.
things was moved and seconded.
So moved, second.
So, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, into executive session, and we'll do, thank you for coming, we really appreciate it.